Hi, this is Pastor Rachel McIver-Maury with the introduction to the book of Romans for those doing the project of reading through the Bible in the year. So first of all, if you have read this far, you are in June and congratulations. You are nearly halfway through, not quite, but close. Second, let's talk about the book of Romans. We'll talk a little bit about the historical context first and then the themes. Historical context of the book of Romans is that it is the last of the letters that Paul wrote. Now, Paul was the one who wrote the majority of the books of the New Testament, and they came as letters or epistles, is the word we often use in biblical studies. Most of the letters of Paul deal with communities that he had relationships with, either because he planted the churches himself or because disciples of his planted the churches himself, or themselves, so to speak. And so when he wrote to those churches, he had familiarity, he had names he would throw their way, he had some feel for the problems they were dealing with. The letter to the Romans is different, and that is because Paul did not have a relationship with the congregation prior to this letter, and you can tell from the opening chapter that that's the case. So Paul is writing to a Christian community with whom he does not have a relationship about a trip he would like to make to go see them. And he is also writing in the context of the later days of his ministry. And so he's working through issues and problems that have developed through the nascent Christian movement and have now come to fruition. So what are the themes that you'll find in the book of Romans? The first 12 chapters of the book of Romans deal with a thorny issue, and that is, what is the relationship of this new Christian movement to the Jewish community which gave birth to it through Jesus? So this is an issue that Paul wrestles with for 12 chapters, and we are unsure of the composition of the Roman Christian community, but based on the context, it looks like there were certainly Jewish Christian members there, and very probably Gentile Christian members as well. And so he's trying to help them work through what is the relationship between those who grew up and understand themselves to be following Jewish law and also followers of Jesus, and new Gentile converts to Christianity who don't have any history with Jewish law and aren't sure if it has anything to do with following Jesus at all. And so Paul spends 12 chapters really wrestling with this in a systematic way. And so I want you to pay attention to where he lands on this issue. Ultimately, he would determine, in his words, that the gifts and calling of the Lord are forever. So he ultimately determines that Jews and Christians are part of the same tree, and that Gentile Christians are what he refers to as grafted in branches onto that tree. And so it's an opportunity for us to reflect on the relationship between modern day Christian families and our Jewish brothers and sisters, and what are the relationships and what ought the relationships be. So with that in mind, I invite you to consider our 3 questions for reflection. The first is, where is God in what I am reading? The second is, what ideas or concepts or themes are challenging to me and why? And the third is, what's going on in the world around us that might that might intersect with what I'm reading today? As always, happy reading and good luck.